everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Craig Morgan and the birthday boy himself, Steve Peters.
We're not talking about it today.
We'll get to
You get to a point where you don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah,
Leah,
that's okay. Well, I'm sorry we're going to talk about it, but not right now because we are very excited to be joined by a special guest. Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals are in town tomorrow night for their first ever trip to Mullett Arena. And to talk a little bit of Caps, we're talking to the Athletics Capitals beat writer, Tarik El-Bashir. Tarik, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I was always wondering why you guys hadn't had me on before, so it took Craig a little while to give me a call, but I'm honored to be here.
I am sorry to slight you in the past, buddy. It was nothing personal. But
No offense taken.
How you been, by the way? How you been?
Great. It's been kind of an interesting year here in DC covering the Capitals, which is a lot of fun. I've been covering the team since Ovi's rookie year. Actually, before that, going back to his draft year in 2004. Then there was no hockey that next year, and the last few years it gotten a little stale. It was the same guys. It was the same first round exit. It's kind of boring. And this year, there's been a little bit of everything. There's been big injuries. There's been struggles. There's been Ovi breaking a record every other night. It's been a lot more exciting. So for a veteran sports writer like myself, it's just been, more easily to be engaged all the time and to enjoy going to work every day.
Huh, I wonder what that's like.
Hey, we enjoy going to this part of the work, right, Craig? Right?
We're not going to talk Coyotes with you, Tarik. Okay? I'm over talking Coyotes.
The Coyotes did beat the Caps earlier this year.
They did. They've done some well, and I'm not sure of the wisdom of that decision, given what they're trying to accomplish. But again, that's not the show topic today. We're here to talk Caps. We're here to talk Ovi. Let's start with the Caps. You mentioned the season. As of 12 days ago, when I looked at man games lost, the Caps had lost more than 300 man games to injuries, which led the NHL. And we're not talking about minor players here. We're talking about Nicholas Backstrom, Tom Wilson, TJ Oshie, John Carlson, Dmitry Orlov. There have been a lot of big names out of the lineup, and it clearly impacted them early in the season when they were out of a playoff spot and people were wondering, are they going to get back in? They had that crazy streak. I think they won, what was it, like 11 of 12 or 10 of 11, but they've been scuffling a little bit again lately. What's your read on this season and all the challenges and how they're managing it?
Yeah, so the injuries have been the overarching kind of theme to this season to this point. With the big names, Nicholas Backstrom and Tom Wilson, now they're back in the lineup, but everyone knew they were going to be out until late December, early January. So when you look at that man games lost, it's a little deceiving because the Capitals had accounted for the fact that those guys were going to be out for so long. What they didn't know was that John Carlson was going to get hurt twice, and he's out again now with his second major injury. They didn't know Dmitry Orlov was going to get hurt, and so and Connor Brown. They signed Connor Brown traded for him in the offseason to replace Tom Wilson, who's going to be out until January, and then he blew out his ACL 4 games into the year. So, it's been that kind of year from an injury standpoint. Darcy Kemper missed a few games there too with a head injury. I mean, there's been a lot going on. That said, the team did figure some stuff out in mid-December and started playing better defensively, and they started getting secondary scoring. And Charlie Lindgren, the backup goaltender that no one really knew much about until he got here this offseason, he took the reins and ran with it. And so they turned things around in December. I believe they were 11-2-2 for the month, and that catapulted them from 12th in the East back solidly into a playoff position. And what you're seeing here now in the last 6 games, they've gone 2-4, is they're trying to integrate Backstrom and Wilson back into a lineup that had learned to cope without them. And so those are big personalities. Those are big minute guys. Those are guys who demand the puck. And, they're great teammates. And I think eventually it's going to be good for the team. But they're kind of going through some growing pains right now while they try to figure out how to deal with 14 healthy forwards.
What's the latest on John Carlson, by the way? I know that was kind of a scary ear injury. There was some miscommunication over exactly what happened with that ear. So maybe you can fill us in on all that.
Yeah, his ear did not fall off. I was actually
that's good.
It did not fall off. Seriously, he hasn't spoken publicly about the injury yet. He's been kind of behind the scenes, but I've seen him behind the scenes. I've bumped into him in the parking lot. He's doing much better. The injuries though are significant, and he's going to be out a while. He's going to be out. I mean, anyone who takes a 90-mile-an-hour slap shot to the side of the head, you don't have to really guess as to what the injury is, right? I mean, he's going to be out a while, and he's going to be out probably, if I had to guess, another month and a half. They're hopeful that he's going to come back around March, and they can kind of ramp him up and get him ready for the postseason, which is going to present a whole nother round of questions when it comes to the cap, because by putting him on LTI, they were able to bring back Nicklas Backstrom. Well, when Backstrom is still on the cap and Tom Wilson's on the cap, and now you're trying to bring back an $8 million John Carlson, they might have to offload some salary. And, the trade deadline might be before they know if John's going to be healthy. So there's a lot of moving parts here over the next 5 or 6 weeks. And the Caps are going to have to be on their toes and make sure that they get it right.
This team is interesting, at least from outside the market perspective, because they were very much, in their cup window at Ovi's peak, but I mean, he's still you can argue he's still maybe at his peak, but they're an older team. I believe the second oldest team in the NHL behind just Pittsburgh. And before the season started, we sat here and debated if this was, a playoff team or anything like that. So what do you think the immediate possibilities are for this team? Like, are they still in their cup window? Are they a cup contending team still?
That's a great question, Leah. I would say, that when things are working for them, like when they're on top of their game and they're getting strong goaltending, they defend like a team that can contend. They still have some high-end scorers. That said, I feel like there's a lot of moving parts that need to come together for this team in order for them to really become a legit team that can do some damage in the playoffs. I feel like they've had good goaltending for a couple of weeks, and then it isn't so great. They get secondary scoring, and then it goes away. The top guys carry the team for a little bit, then that goes away. They haven't been able to put it all together. The one thing that's been constant is defensively they've been good, and that's a hallmark of a Peter Laviolette coach team. Like, that's just, he plays a lock. They're able to muck it up a little bit and keep the chances against down. That's what they've been good at all year. If they're able to put it all together, I hate to sound like a homer, but I think they could win a round or two. And the playoffs in the NHL, as you guys know, it's the most random event on the sports calendar. Right? It's a game played on ice. There's bounces, there's weird referee calls, there's so that kind of adds to the randomness of it. And I guess that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know. I mean, like maybe I, as a guy who's been covering this team since 2004, I really want to see them make another run, another kick at the can, and get that opportunity, because I feel like as good as the Ovechkin era Capitals have been, I do feel like they should be working on cup number 3 right now, not trying to get cup number 2. And just to solidify Ovi's, not that he really needs it because he has won once and, everyone knows what he's capable of. But I think just to make sure that no one says, oh, that 2018, that was a fluke. That was the year that, the seas parted and they were able to take advantage of, just so there's none of that garbage, like, just win one more time. He's got 3 years on his contract after this one. Just do it one more time. For me, for Tarik, not do it for me.
See, I understand that completely, because as we know, it's always about us. Go ahead, Leah.
No, you're good. Are there any moves that this team needs to make at the deadline to, like, what pieces right now, besides obviously all the injuries, getting those guys back to 100% health, but are there any other moves or things you think need to be filled?
Well, that's a great question, and my initial response would be they don't have the cap space. I mean, if Carlson's going to come back, and they are planning on him coming back, like, they're going to have to offload cap space. Like, they're going to have to send someone to another team. I mean, they physically cannot put his cap or his cap hit back on the salary cap and make it work. So I think they could probably use maybe a little bit more depth on the wing because, TJ Oshie has been banged up and he's missed some time. I think it'd be a nice luxury to have, but maybe if Carlson's not going to be 100%, maybe you want to beef up the bottom pairing on defense. Last night they lost to Minnesota at home 3-2. It was a great game. It was a lot of 4-2. There was an empty netter at the end. It was a great game between two good teams. But Minnesota scored their first 3 goals the exact same way. They parked Ryan Reeves in front of the net and no one could move him. They just the Caps need that one kind of Joel Edmondson kind of snarly, angry dude who can just get guys out of Charlie Lindgren and Darcy Kemper's grill a little bit. And I feel like they maybe don't have that right now. I just don't know if Carlson comes back. I just don't know if they're gonna be able to make that work unless they trade someone else that I don't really see, being traded to open up that space.
Josh Brown is cheap.
I was about to say Josh Brown might fit that picture.
And a guy who isn't that gritty, tough player. We'll bring it back to some of your Arizona connections. And people always talk about this being a bust in Arizona, but let's talk about Dylan Strome. Right now, he's 3rd in points on this Capital team, largely because of Backstrom's injury and him having to take a bigger role. So let's go to your 2 Arizona players. Dylan Strome, what has he meant to this team, and Alexander Ovechkin this season? And Darcy Kemper coming off his Stanley Cup winning year with the Avalanche. How does he fit into this Capitals team?
Well, let's start with Strome. I think he's been really, really good. I think from an assist standpoint, he's ahead of pace, career pace. I think goals-wise, he scored a goal last night. That's maybe been a little slow for him, but I think he's finding his way. Now, he was a healthy scratch a couple of games ago, but that was more because Laviolette is trying to figure out how to manage 14 healthy forwards now that Nicholas Backstrom and Tom Wilson. I mean, everyone's been out. Anthony Mantha, $5.7 million player, he sat out. Lars Eller was out the other night. So I think everyone's going to kind of take a turn sitting in the press box, short of the really top guys. So I think that just to make that clear, it wasn't necessarily performance-based. That was a roster space type deal there. And I think he's been really good. He's been good on the power play. I think he signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. To me, that was for a player of his draft status and his ceiling. To me, that was a kind of prove it deal. And I think he's proving it right now. I think he's a player that should he have, a second half the way his first half went, I think this is a player the Caps would want to sign, at what's he, 25, 26, they're trying to get younger. He's not a great skater. He's not fast, but he does a lot of other things really well. I could easily see them signing him to a bridge type deal. I just know internally they've been very happy with what they've gotten from Strome. Kemper, that was their big ticket item, right? He was the best goaltender on the market. He missed a bunch of games after getting elbowed in the head inadvertently by Tyler Toffoli in Calgary back in early December. That wasn't his fault. That kind of disrupted his season a little bit. Kemper, to me, has been really, really good for long stretches, and then had small stretches of okay. But overall, he's done exactly what they signed him to do, which was to solidify and bring some veteran leadership and calmness and steadiness to a goaltending position that last year was I don't know how else to put this, and I know that Vitek Vanacek's having a good season for New Jersey, and Ilya Samsonov's been pretty good for Toronto, but every time the puck crossed the blue line, I was like, what's gonna, I mean, and if a reporter who doesn't really care about the result of a game is seeing that, then I got to imagine the guys on the bench are like, and now when the puck crosses the blue line, it's like, Darcy's got this. Chucky's got this. It's not a big deal. And so that just changes the way a team plays. It changes a team's mentality. It brings the pulse rate down. It allows guys on the bench to focus on what they're doing instead of, trying to, I got to be inch perfect defensively or we're giving up a goal. So I think Kemper's been really good. I think, for a lot of the last month, he's been top 5 or 6 in save percentage. I mean, that's all you can ask for from a guy you just signed to a contract, that pays him, $5.25 a year.
All right, Tarik, let's talk some Ovi. Big picture, and you've been around him from the start. What's it like to cover one of the NHL's marquee players and a character to boot on a daily basis?
It's funny. I've been able to watch him grow and mature, and early on in his career, he really was that guy where you just didn't know what was going to come out of his mouth. Like he just kind of spoke his mind, and he was kind of this free spirit, and you just turned your recorder on and said, "Alex, talk. Just tell me about this." And he wrote your stories for you.
Yes.
But like anyone, you get burned a few times by the Canadian media, and you start kind of, Don Cherry rips you a few times, and you start kind of measuring your words a little more carefully. So he's not nearly as entertaining with the recorder on as he used to be. But when the recorder's off, he's still same old Ovi. He just now is more careful with what he says publicly. And just from a person who appreciates the game of hockey and has been watching it and playing it his entire life, it's one thing I'll never be able to explain adequately in print or to people who ask me what it's like to watch him play on a daily basis is how this dude, when everyone on the other team knows where he's going to stand and what he's going to do, still goes to that spot and then scores a goal. It's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen in sports. I mean, everyone knows that he's just going to park himself in the middle of the left circle.
Yep.
You don't have to watch tape. Like in DC, guys, they are going to start painting. This is the God's honest truth. They're going to start painting in youth hockey rinks around here. Ovi's office. They're going to start painting that on that. I
saw that.
Yeah, they're going to start. So everyone knows where he's going to be, and he just winds up with his one-timer. He could hit rolling pucks. He could hit slow passes, fast passes, passes that are in his skates. And the goaltender comes over, and he looks behind him. And he's like, God. Got me again. There's nothing they can do about it, and it's a force of nature. I'm working on this huge story right now for The Athletic about how at 37 years old he's still doing what he does, and I'm talking to some of the smartest people in hockey, and their answer is, I don't know. You're the one. I look at him every night. I look at the box scores, and I go, how is he still doing this? It does not make any sense.
Yeah.
And so that part of me is. I'm just grateful I've had a chance to cover him for as long as I have, and the other thing is I've covered other guys, Wayne Gretzky, when I was at the New York Times years ago, I've covered guys as they got older, and the thing about Ovi that stands out to me, besides the fact that he shoots the puck from the same spot and everyone knows where he's going to go and he still scores, which is mind blowing, but is the fact that there are still times at 37 years old where he can crank it up. And the entire building and press box leans forward. You're like, because the crowd, you can just sense that it's coming, and he still can blow around a defenseman to the outside, cut to the middle, and then slip it between the goaltender's pads. And you're like, that was Ovi from 2012. He can't do it every time like he used to do in 2012. Like he can't do it on every rush down the ice. But once a game, he can still reach into his bag of tricks and dial that up, and that's amazing to me.
All right. Speaking of bag of tricks, I published a story this morning, and thank you for your help on it. An oral history of the goal that Alex Ovechkin told you is his favorite goal of all time. Little surprised that he chose this goal. It's not a playoff goal. It really was an insignificant goal because the Caps were awful, the Coyotes were awful, and it was the sixth goal in a 6-1 win. But when you look at what happened, you're like, okay, I kind of get it. So your perspective on that goal, and I think you have a good story to tell on this one.
Yeah, so let me start with the story because I've told this before. I don't know if you've heard it, but so I was there. I was covering the game. It was an afternoon game. It was MLK weekend. It was a holiday. I had a flight that night. It was a blowout game with 5,000 people in the crowd. I've done my running for the Washington Post. I'm going to slap a top on it, run downstairs, get some quotes, maybe go catch up with Gretzky, get a quote on how good Alex is, catch my my red eye back to the East Coast. Done deal. And so I think it was 4-0 or 5-0 when he scored the goal. I'm looking under. So I'm in Glendale. I'm looking under the desk for where the plug was to my laptop.
Oh,
no.
no.
I'm fumbling around, and I'm like, where is it? And I'm looking down, and I grab it, and the crowd goes crazy, and I'm like, what did I just miss? So I look up, and I look up at the Jumbotron, and I'm like, wait, did that go in? And now the crowd is doing the same thing. Now the crowd is looking at the Jumbotron. Gretzky, I look down at the bench. Gretzky's looking at the Jumbotron. everyone's like, did that just go in? And so the crowd is now on its feet. They're almost cheering. I mean, they're kind of cheering for what they just saw. So I was in the freaking building and I missed it. I didn't see it live.
Oh my God.
There, I didn't see it. I saw it, twice or three times on the Jumbotron. And so I go downstairs, and now I'm like, all right, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But like Ovi said, I don't think anyone really realized how big it was going to be. I was like, okay, well, that's clearly my lead now. Like I have a lead for this lame game played on in the afternoon in front of a small crowd. I was like one of a handful of reporters who even bothered to go get Gretzky, and so I asked Gretzky a few questions. He gave me a couple of good quotes. I'll never forget. Gretzky looked at me. And I covered him before, so I knew him a little bit. And he, I said, so what was going through your mind when you saw that? He said, Tarik, I've never seen a player blow a kiss at me on the bench. I was like, and I was like, Wayne, no. He wasn't blowing a kiss at you. That's a tribute to his brother who died in a car accident when he was a little boy. After every goal, he blows a kiss to the sky. And that wasn't at you. And he kind of laughed, but he gave me a good quote. And so I plugged it in. And so I go and I file the story, and I'm about to head to the airport. And my boss called and was like, yeah, you know what? This is really taking off. You might want to sit tight so we can get you tomorrow to write another story. We're going to have a business person. And that's when I think it was starting to hit Ovi too. He was like, wait a minute. I'm supposed to go to Connecticut to the ESPN to talk about that goal?
Right.
That crazy, freakish thing where I was sliding on my back. No one realized until like 24, 48 hours later that this was going to be called the goal. It wasn't that obvious in the moment. And I missed it.
Of course. I mean, that goal is just one of obviously hundreds that he scored as he's chasing this record that Wayne Gretzky, who you just spoke about, holds right now. Does Ovi have a sense of what does it mean to Ovechkin? Have you talked to him about it, and how is he handling this pursuit of this record?
Yeah, he loves it. He has always been driven to be the best. When he came here as a rookie, he wanted, he probably didn't say I'm going to break all these records, but he wanted to go down as one of the all-time greatest. And that mentality has never changed. And that's part of the reason why he continues to have this passion for the game, the reason he continues to work the way he works in the offseason, the way at 37 he still plays as recklessly and crazy as he does right now. I mean, Monday night on Long Island, he's more judicious with how he doles out his hits now. He's not just running around like a runaway freight train like he used to, but he still can change a game. In that game, the Caps were down 3-0. He saw JG Pageau in the corner and was like, here's my chance to go get a little guy. And he crunched him. And and Pageau gets up and his teammate has to kind of help him. And now all tempers are flaring a little bit. The referees called a 5-minute boarding major, which got rescinded. But it totally changed the game. He still can have that effect physically on a game. But like I said, I don't think he came into this league thinking he was going to start breaking records, but he's always thought of himself as potentially one of the greatest to ever play, and that has continued to drive him. And as he has started to really, check off all these guys, Jaromir Jagr and then Gordie Howe, and I thought after he passed Howe there was going to be kind of a, all right, I got to 800. I got to 802. No, he kept going. I think now he's now the crosshairs he has Gretzky right there. I mean, we were thinking before that he was going to catch him in the 24, 25 season. If he stays on the pace he's on now, it's going to be the end of next season.
Yeah.
He's started to pick up the pace a little bit now that he's kind of sniffed it and kind of sees, how close and that it's tangible and it's something he can do. And he's a family man now. He's married. He's got 2 boys of his own. And, people who are close to him have told me, he desperately wants his boys, I think they're 4 and 2, to remember him as a great. That he doesn't want them to, Sergey, the oldest, comes to games now, and you'll see he fist pounds him through the glass. It's the cutest thing. But he wants him to remember his dad, not as a third-line dude who was hanging on to break some more records. He wants him to remember him as, a guy who finished, first or second to Connor McDavid in goals. And so, these are all these driving, these things that are kind of driving him internally. But he also wants to win. He still wants to win one more time. And I'll tell you, for me, when I first realized that I thought he had a chance to break Gretzky's record, was when he got to 700. I wrote that story. I did an oral history, like an instant oral history that night in New Jersey. I talked to everyone who was on the ice for that goal and got their perspective on that goal. When I filed that story from the train ride home from New Jersey that night, I was like, this guy's going to do it. He's going to get there. He is still playing at a high level. He still loves coming to the rink. He still is taking care of his body. He's going to get to 895 and maybe 900 something. And so that's where it crystallized in my head. I'm not 100% sure when it crystallized. Knowing him, it was probably, maybe second or third year in the league. He was like, I've scored 53 straight years. I can do this. He probably was doing the math in his head. But, I mean, that's when I realized I better start doing some reporting here. So when he gets there, I got a good story to tell.
Okay, Tarik, I thought I knew a lot about hockey. So I said at the beginning of the season, Ovi's going to slow down. He's getting older. There's injuries to the team. I said maybe high 30s. Well, he's almost that at the All-Star break at the high 30s. So the question to sum this whole thing up, is Alex Ovechkin the greatest goal scorer of all time?
I don't even have to ponder that because I've said it a number of times. Absolutely, without a doubt in my head. I mean, look, I've played the game, albeit at a low level, but I've been watching it my entire life. Recently, I did a big feature story on Mike Gartner. Great goal scorer in his own right. But I went back before I started, to do interview people and kind of formulate how I was going to write the story. And I watched some of the goals that he scored in the 80s. And I watched the goaltenders. And this is no knock on what's happened in previous eras, because I think it's not fair and it's not something that is totally apples to apples to compare eras. That said, I am not sure that any position in pro sports has evolved as much as goaltender has in hockey. Mike Gartner was scoring on clappers from outside the blue line.
Yeah.
Right now, if you take a clapper from outside the blue line, Darcy Kemper catches it, drops it, and fires it up to his winger, and it's a 2-on-1 the other way.
Yeah.
Back then, it was going crossbar down, or it was just going in the net. And so if you take goaltender and the advances that there have been in goaltender, I mean, Darren Pang, a colleague of mine at TNT, one of my favorite all-time people, what's he, like 5'5"? Darcy Kemper's 6'5". I mean, if you want to get a feel for how hard it is to score a goal in today's era compared to then, find some video of reverse angles of a guy shooting from, let's say, the slot or the circle. Back then, a guy winds up for a clapper from the circle, and he's got a goaltender in this small-ass equipment standing in the net like this, and you see all this net on every side of the goaltender. You're like, how did he miss that shot? Now you look at Ovi at that same angle, and he's getting a stick on his stick from a back checking forward. There's a defenseman in front of him. There's another defenseman coming over. There's a center cheating over. And then you got this 6'5" goaltender with these enormous pads standing in his way at the top of the crease. And you don't see any net. Like, you might see a little sliver 7-hole. You might see a little 5-hole. You might see a little under the glove, over the glove. So it is just preposterous to me to even say that he's already not, because if he had played in the 80s or 90s, he'd be like 1,200 goals already. But now if you ask an old timer, they'd be like, well, if you gave me Bauer Hyperlight skates and a 75 flex composite stick and told me to stop smoking, I could have scored that many goals too, right? So that's why you can't compare eras. But if you're just going to compare goal scoring to goal scoring, I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion that he's already the best, because he's doing it at a time when it's harder than ever to score a goal.
Well,
amen.
Yep.
Completely.
I agree. Well, Tarik, we can't thank you enough for hopping on with us today and spending time talking about the Caps and talking Ovi. And Yeah, we really appreciate your time, and we'll have you on again soon. Sorry you didn't get the invite earlier, but I promise we'll have you back. So,
by the way, it'd be nice if you actually came to Arizona instead of staying in.
But the weather's better there.
60-degree Washington,
warmer
apparently.
there than here.
So I'm pulling a little bit of a veteran move here. The Caps are off today. They're at Arizona tomorrow. Then they're off again, and then they're in Vegas. I'm just going straight to Vegas.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I see how it is.
Fair enough.
I'm just going straight to, and I'll meet them in Vegas. That's all.
And you feel slighted.
I love Arizona. I just, just going straight to Vegas.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Totally understand.
All right, man. We'll catch up with you down the road. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. That was awesome. Super thorough. Really painted a picture of the state of the Caps and Ovi also. So
somebody who's covered him from the start.
Yeah,
so
that's really
that's
cool.
Incredible perspective.
That's really cool. So we appreciate Tarik for joining us. And I just checked, the line for the game is not yet on DraftKings, but I don't know. Like after that, I'm taking Ovi anytime goal scorer.
100%
seems very appealing.
In the Mullett, he wants to score in this building because you want to score in every building you've played in, and it's just one.
True.
It is the only building. I think he scored in Seattle. I'd have to check the stats. Yeah. This might be the only building in the league he has not scored in.
He's a showman too.
100%.
He's got a showman in him, and yes, he
understands.
He wants to score. Yes, he does.
Absolutely. So that's my recommendation. Head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app to place that bet as soon as the line goes live. And right now, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped up same game parlays. Boost your NFL winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code PHNX, and new customers can bet $5 on the NFL divisional round and get $200 in free bets instantly. That's only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And now I'm going to call upon Sean for his DraftKings pick of the week, and I wonder what it is.
There's football?
I wonder what his pick of the week is.
There's a tough one. There's a lot of options, a lot of places I could have gone with this. But after much consideration, prayer, conversation with my family, I've decided that my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week is the Buffalo Bills. Duh.
What are they? Minus what?
-5.
Minus
they host
5.
the Bengals. I
like your chances.
Don't fix it. I gotta keep rocking with it until I can't anymore.
Josh Allen bounces back, right?
Josh Allen bounces back. Hopefully doesn't turn the ball over 4 times. Bengals didn't look great against the Ravens, so here's hoping they actually get a result to this Bengals-Bills game, and the Bills get the W. So, yeah, right. Bills -5 is my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week.
Love it. Well, if you want to tail Sean, you can do so on DraftKings, and I feel like Sean's going to need to calm his nerves a little bit before that game. So he might consider taking some OGs to chill out. I know Sean does love OGs, and we do too. Their flavors are amazing. Their strawberries and cream is, I think it's this Friday it comes out. Their ratio happy balance flavor. Can't wait to try that. I tried the blackberries and cream
is
at the tea party last week.
That's
unreal. So check out OGs. Amazing flavors. A gummy for all of your needs, sleep, microdose, indica, sativa, all of it. Check it out. You can find them at your local dispensary. You must be 21 or older to enjoy. All right. Was there anything that Tarik talked about that you kind of talk about a little more? For me, one of the things was when he talked about, goalies, like Ovi just scoring from the same spot every time, and everyone somehow being like, we saw it coming. How did this happen? And it reminded me of some of the quotes in your story, just talking about like that crazy goal that we discussed with Tarik. But like, how did that happen? How does this happen? That was kind of just like one of the takeaways.
Yeah, a lot of fun to write that story, just to relive it through the eyes of so many people who were there, just to get different perspectives. It's amazing that it's his favorite goal, but when you watch what happened on that play, you're like, okay, I get it. And Shane Doan said it best, or a couple of people said it actually, but I think it was Jeff Halpern, former Coyote, who was the captain at the time. Special players do special things, and it's like being able to do something that nobody else can do makes it that special to Ovi. 2 things from the interview that jumped out when he talked about his kids wanting to see him. He wants them to see him as a great player, not just a guy that's at the end of his career. Because a lot of times that's what happens. These guys have kids, and by the time they're old enough to understand what they're seeing, dad's washed, right? Ovi's still playing at a ridiculous level, so his kids may remember this. And then the talk of who's the greatest goal scorer, it's just no question. We've talked about this with goaltenders. You're not scoring from the half wall anymore, beating a guy far side. Goaltenders are so much better. It's not happening. He is the greatest goal scorer of all time. No argument.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I want people that get an opportunity to watch Ovechkin live on the Mullett or on TV tomorrow, there's one thing unique about this player, even at his age, it's his desire to score goals. And that's what makes him such a great goal scorer for me, is because anytime he is on the ice, he has one thought in mind: I need to score. I'm not looking for the best pass. I'm not trying to get it through 3 sticks and throw a sauce to somebody. I am going to score. And when that puck is anywhere near the net, it is a dog on the bone, and he is chasing that puck, and you should see him dive over players, bowl through guys to get an opportunity to shoot the puck on the net. We talked about the Coyotes not shooting. Alexander Ovechkin is not passing up a shot from anywhere. He wants to score. And you watch him tomorrow, isolate on him for the shift when he's on the ice, and you watch him. And if that puck is anywhere near the net, he is going to fight, scratch, claw to get an opportunity to put that puck in the net. And that's what separates him from other people. He has a penchant for scoring because he wants to score a goal when his feet hit the ice.
Yeah, I think the last game, when I covered them last year in DC, I think he had 8 shot attempts midway through the game. It was crazy.
Yeah.
He was just firing every time he got the puck.
Yeah, it is crazy. And you think about, too, a lot of hockey players or pass first team game. You saw Connor Bedard talk about team. And I'm not saying that Ovechkin's not about the team at all, but it is cool to see somebody who actually, like let's be real. Like, you want to set records, you want that. And I love that he's always been true to that and has chased that his whole career. And it's benefited his team because he's led his team to a Stanley Cup, which is something that everyone dreams of doing. So he's really cool, and I'm really excited to watch that game. We're going to take a quick sidestep, and then I promise we're going to talk about the jerseys in just a few minutes. But I do want to I'm going to hand it fully over to Craig. We're going to stay in the Metro for a second. There was some news last night out of Philadelphia that is very upsetting, and I'm just going to throw it to you, Craig, and then I promise we'll talk about the jerseys after.
Yeah, I think everybody knows what happened at this point. Ivan Provorov would not wear the warm-up jersey for Pride Night that everybody else was wearing, opted out of it. They still opted to let him play. The way this is being framed by people who are backing him is, oh, well, that's his religious choice. I'm really tired of people hiding behind religion on this one, okay? Let's call this what it is. This is prejudice. This is bigotry. I'm sorry. That's all it is. It's not religious freedom. Your Bible was used to justify slavery back in the day. Your Bible was used to justify deny women the right to vote. Look it up. You can find both of those. So let's not hide behind that. Let's just call it what it is. You are still free to do it, but we are going to call you out on it. I thought it was a bad move by Ivan Provorov, a bad move by the Flyers to let him play, and that's all I'm going to say on it. But I'm tired of people hiding behind religious freedom on this one. It's not that. It's bigotry.
Absolutely. And I just think, too, they were auctioning the jerseys to raise money to, help people play hockey in diverse communities. So
exactly,
it's just
good
upsetting.
Message. That's as mixed a message as you can send.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Super, super bummer, and we hate to have to talk about it, but it is, a bit probably the biggest story in the hockey world right now. So thank you, Craig, for speaking on that. And we're going to bring in a jersey expert here in a second, because I know from the start of the show, the chat has been talking about this jersey. But very, very quickly before we get there, I just want to say, we talked about the tea party a lot and how much fun it was. But one of the best parts of the tea party was the food. And one of those things was Mountain Mike's Pizza, who came out.
There was a mountain.
Of Mountain Mike's Pizza.
It was insane.
Literally a mountain.
People, take a whole pizza. Go ahead.
Yeah, oh my God. People were thrilled. It smelled amazing. It was the best. It was
pie.
Unreal. And then we got a Mountain Mike's delivery here at the office yesterday. So we love Mountain Mike's Pizza. Head on over to mountainmikespizza.com or check out their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to place your next order. And for diehards, get a $50 Mountain Mike's voucher upon signing up to be a diehard. So great deal. Get Mountain Mike's.
Did you look in the fridge, by the way?
There's some leftover.
There's plenty.
Yeah, that's
where
lunch.
I'm heading right after the show.
That's lunch right after this. And one more note as well. I'm gonna take higher on Ovi shots on goal. I'm gonna take higher on
for sure.
Coyotes, whoever's the starting goalie, higher on saves.
Yep.
I'm taking it all. We should definitely
do
a pick 'em.
Lower on Caps goalie saves too.
Yes, love it.
Okay.
Yeah, Coyotes can't get
Higher,
shots
lower.
on goal. We talked about that
Easiest.
last night.
thing to do.
Yeah, so check out Underdog Fantasy, play the pick'em game, just pick player high or lower. It's a lot of fun, and we can also do a daily draft. That's fun too for different slates of games. Try it out; it's super fun. Play with your friends, and it's really easy to get started. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. Sign up with the code PHNX, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. So it's a great deal.
Is it time?
Get in on the action. Is it time to talk jerseys?
Yeah,
it's time. It's
Everybody's
time.
been waiting to talk.
Everybody's been waiting. I know. We're here. And we've brought in Espo because he is our in-house jersey fanatic, if you will.
I think fanatic's the right word.
Yeah.
I almost wish we could have wheeled you in on a chair like Weekend Update here.
And when we talk about Espo and his love of jerseys, he literally, and no joke, wears jerseys often at work that I have never and literally no idea. Not only what team it is, what sport it is. Like, he has jerseys from anybody that's ever had any affiliation with the state of Arizona. So he is our guy on this topic because he knows.
Phoenix Giants, Phoenix.
Who? What?
We, Espo and I got derailed on a story we were working on this past summer, but we'll get back to it. We're going to do a history of all those teams in Arizona that Petey's never heard of it.
And I could drink beer in front of my boss.
I know. What a gig.
I encourage it, Petey.
I love it. So I think before we get into it, let's take a look at the jersey itself. This was released today. The what is it even called? The Desert
Nights, I believe is what they're referring to.
Yes.
Not with a K, not like Las Vegas.
Like
night. Like Desert Night, third jersey designed by their creative strategist and global fashion designer. Do you know how to say his name?
Oh, look at you. No.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, and he said his inspiration for the third jersey came from the environment, the community, the colors, and the clay roots of Arizona culture. I feel honored to pioneer with the Coyotes. The reimagining of the sport alongside culture and design was his statement. So we've obviously seen some mock-ups, some teases of this. They finally released this today. Let's just give our initial thoughts. And I'm going to start with Espo because we brought him in, special guest.
So this is supposed to represent Arizona, the culture, the landscape, everything. Apparently, Arizona is monochromatic and boring. Apparently, this state has nothing to offer other than maroon and off-white. And it's, I don't know. I look at this and I go, if somebody was looking for a knockoff jersey at Walmart, this is what the old maroon Coyotes head jersey would look like. This is what you would see on the Walmart shelf. And I hate to be so cruel about it because I was genuinely excited when I saw the pants. I thought, all right, cactus theme, maybe we're going somewhere that I can get behind. And then I saw the more you know version of Arizona with the star shooting across, and I was like, you've got one of the best brands in hockey. The Kachina is iconic. The Peyote Coyote, as I like to refer to it, is iconic. You see it, you know exactly what team it is and what it represents. And this, I go, it could be anybody. It's almost like those New Jersey jerseys that just said Jersey.
Yeah.
Like and at least that color palette was interesting. This one is a little rough.
DP, I know you have thoughts.
Oh boy, do I. I'm right there with Espo. It just see the front logo is just terrible. I think it's boring. Let me get my face on here. Like I said to y'all, the kind of like shooting star with the little star over the eye gives me like fourth grade girl diary vibes. Like she's like, oh, cute little star.
Wow.
And like I mentioned,
and the flowy font
and the
too.
Flowy font, yeah. And like I mentioned to y'all before the show, it gives me big like, here's a video game that didn't have a deal with the NHL, so they can't use the team's branding, but there's still teams in every city that there are NHL teams, and they have the same colors, but it's just Arizona. Like it just seems like a knockoff. Like Espo said, it seems like something you would buy at Walmart. I hate everything about it. I think it's boring.
Wow.
I think the numbers are boring. It's just a plain like the off-white sand color. I just, like Espo said, I think the Coyotes have the coolest brand, coolest colorways. Like there's so much potential with Coyote stuff, and I completely missed the mark here. I think some of the worst jerseys I've ever seen in the sport of hockey, to be quite honest.
And they brought somebody in to do this. This isn't like, hey, our graphic designer didn't have a whole lot of time to put into this third jersey, so this is what we got. This is a fashion designer they brought in to do it. I'm sorry, it does not fit the brand. It's sad. I think you could have done so many things with this as the Coyotes, gone so many ways, had a really cool third logo if you wanted, done a really cool Western theme Arizona, and instead you get a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of something that you can't really
I might mock up jersey designs that are better than this just to prove a point.
I would love to see that.
And it's not a speak to my skill at all. I just think these are incredibly lazy, and anybody could have made.
I would have preferred that cactus on the short on the pants, just dead center on
That'd
the jersey.
Cool.
It would have been better than
when we saw the pants. I was excited because the pants are really cool.
Can I temper this a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate the jerseys. Like, honestly, I don't react that. People know by now that I don't get all that excited about jerseys because it's a jersey. We're talking about fashion here. There's no right and wrong, really. It's just opinions. I like sort of some of the borders. I like the color. I like using that. To me, it's the script that's just a little dull. I thought they could have done more with what's presented right on the front. The cactus would have been really cool. I'd really like to see them do something more with the crescent moon that they've ever done. Mm-hmm. The fact that they had it at center ice for a while at that arena that I can't remember the name of anymore because it keeps changing. That was cool, Diamond. And I'd like to see them, do something with that. But the script is just, I just looked at it and I said, meh. The Coyotes have had a lot of great jerseys. This really isn't one of them.
Look, I'm sorry to dominate this conversation.
We brought you in for your expert opinion.
But a sweater, a jersey, it's more than just fashion. To me, it's a representation.
Well, clearly, if you see your closet.
Well, this is true, but it's a representation of the city, the state that we call home, a team that we have passion and desire to see succeed. And it's what they wear when they go to other cities, when they represent us, and when you're trying to show off what the best of Arizona is. And there's a lot you have to overcome when you say Arizona to people in many ways. I mean, you still see it when there's a national game. It's, hey, here's the stagecoach and the tumbleweed and some dude in a cowboy hat. Like,
here's a mug of Paul Gosar.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that you have to overcome when you're thinking Arizona, and putting them in something that does not do justice to what this team's branding is, what this city is, and the love of hockey. I mean, just talk about what you have to overcome in the hockey fans' minds when they think Arizona. I think this is a disservice to everybody.
And I'm going to say a few things. First of all, I'm going to, people that know, they know, start off with a huge HK. Like, who cares? Like, as long as 20 players wear the exact same color, I'm all in, because you go to senior men's, one guy's got white, one guy's got blue. They all wear the same color. That's helpful. So we'll start with that. The problem for me is this franchise has had iconic jerseys.
Some of the best
in
the
Kachina
NHL.
jersey I still put up represents the community, the culture of Arizona, the colors of Arizona. It is iconic. As Espo said, you see it, it's Arizona. In the Gretzky era, they went back to an original 6. Hey, we're red and white. It's 2 colors. It's 2 stripes. We're going to make it really easy. We're going to get a huge Coyote Howling Head logo. By the way, this is the other thing interesting that I love about those logos is the Coyote Howling Head has hidden imagery in it. And I wish there was more description on that. Like when you look at his snout, there's 4 little triangles representing the 4 peaks of the mountain peaks. He also has the tan on his lower chin. When you look at that, it's supposed to represent the bird, the phoenix rising from the ashes, and the name of the city. Those things are what makes logos and uniforms iconic. Now, if there's a story behind this one, can't wait to hear it.
I have it right here.
But right now, I don't mind the color. I don't mind the script. Okay. But these jerseys are made for marketing purposes. They're made to sell jerseys. And I tell you what, fans like DP, Sean DePaz, liked the orange jersey, like the purple jersey, because they have colors, they're exciting, and they have a lot going on. I don't know if this one does. So we'll see. I mean, if they sell a ton of the jerseys, then they nailed it, and I'm an idiot.
Okay, this is straight from the article or the press release. So the shooting star represents the desert night when coyotes hunt and is also symbolic of the Arizona state flag. The edges of the word mark are not straight but uneven. This irregular outline along with the raw edge emphasizes the rough and raw desert. In addition, a half moon is used for the captaincy C and a cactus is used for the alternate captain A. This jersey shows the continued evolution of the Kachina print. And I will say the pattern on the bottom, like it is kind of reminiscent of the Kachina.
I like that.
I like that part of it. I think just to give my take, and here it says though, where maroon helmets, maroon gloves, and the pants obviously are maroon with that cactus. It's just like a lot of maroon. And I think as an Arizona community, I mean, even you look at the D-backs, how everyone's fighting to get the teal back, and right, like the maroon is just so boring. And the Suns, these teal jerseys this year, it's so cool. And the Valley jerseys last year, those like resonated. And when it's maroon, to me, just that monochrome, it just feels like trying to be something that the fans don't even want.
Yeah. Well, did you guys see the A look as well? To me, I know it's supposed to be two cactuses kind of leaning on each other. It looks like a rejected Arby's logo to me. I mean, look, I hate to, but you bring up the press release, right? And I hate to say this too, but I was the guy that wrote a bunch of those for Suns jerseys during the dark days, right? I wrote the silver jersey that they had that had the Western font. Like I wrote those. It's made up in most cases. It's written after the fact. Now, the Coyote head with the four peaks, the Kachina being the shape of an A, those kind of things are thought of. But on these secondary kind of jerseys that come out, a lot of times just from Nike or Adidas or whoever's making it, it's made up. It's made up by somebody in marketing or PR. That's
Espo pulling back the curtain here.
Because I've written 2 or 3 of those.
See, as I've said, DP, marketing is creative lying.
Exactly what it is, coming from a man with an advertising degree.
So here's my final thought on the jerseys, and it harkens back to what Petey just said. First of all, I know they're not marketing to you or me. Nope, we're not the demographic. Sorry, buddy, you're not either.
This is true.
So 2 things. Do the players like it? We've heard that they actually do like it.
Players do like it.
So that's 1. 2, does it sell? We'll see on that. If those 2 things, if they check those 2 boxes,
it doesn't matter.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
That's all that matters.
I will say, and we tweeted out the photo, and so I've read the replies. I would say 50% of people outright hate it, and about 25% say, like, oh, you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, it's not that bad. I will say it looks better on the player than it did in like the leaked images of it, in my opinion. And then I would say another 25% loved it. I mean, Nick in the chat said he loved it, and we got a $5 super chat from Altec ZZ as well, and said, it's your favorite Yotes fan in St. Louis again. I love the Kachina, but prefer the Howling Head from the past couple of years, so I love this new alternate. And you know what? It does come down to people's taste and opinions.
Absolutely.
It all differs. So.
I mean, and I will say this. Sometimes when you see things in person, you get a different feel for it. So maybe I will have a slight pivot if I ever see it in person.
Have to be a
but it would have to
pivot from where you are right now, buddy.
I'd have to make a sharp right if I were gonna change my mindset on it. But I'm, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about how these teams are represented and how our valley is represented in our state.
And I want to give the designer
that.
credit before we leave too. And I'm going to try to pronounce it. Rouge Villasignor, who is the creative fashion director for the Coyotes, and he has also started the fashion brand Rude, RHUDE. So if you want to check out his other things that he's designed, go to RH.
No, look
him up.
He's a cool designer.
world-renowned designer.
Yeah. And I've seen other stuff
really
he's
cool.
done. That's amazing.
Is really cool. Yeah,
and I like the idea of bringing in, like we talk about the NHL being so stale with like players coming in their suits every day, and you see teams starting to loosen up and allowing creative expression. So even though people don't all love this jersey, I love that they took a step in the direction of allowing for more creative expression and something outside of just like the black and white cut and dry that the NHL is sometimes is.
Well, and I will never rip on a designer because there are so many cooks in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh,
too. The marketing people, the league. I'm sure even Adidas had some say because they have to produce them. So there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen with these kind of things. So it's never necessarily on the designer.
Absolutely. So let us know what you think in the comments and on Twitter and in our Discord as well. You can see this one for the first time in person this Sunday, January 22nd against Vegas. They're wearing it a ton this season, February 19th, February 26th, like almost every home game in March, it seems like. So check out the jersey schedule. I believe it's in the release, but this Sunday is your first chance to check it out. Espo, I want you to stay here for the rest of the show. But in the meantime, I want to tell you guys about Illegal Pete's, which is my favorite place ever. And if you're going to any of these home games up in the next week or so, stop by Illegal Pete's before the game. It's right on Mill Ave, a couple minutes from the arena. Grab yourself a burrito, make a burrito bowl, try the queso, grab a margarita. It's unreal, super delicious, and we love Illegal Pete's here at PHNX. A couple of events coming soon, so stay tuned. And it's also great because if you have, dietary restrictions, it's easy to work around that. It's our go-to spot for burritos and good times and beer and margs and queso. So check out Illegal Pete's. It's amazing. And Petey, I heard you crack open a Four Peaks. So what are you drinking?
Daytime golden lager.
Daytime.
It's a daytime. We got to mix the fruity beers in the daytime and then kilt lifters more in the evening, which, by the way, our fridge is empty and out of kilt lifter.
Oh.
Just saying.
We'll put in a SOS over to our friends at 4
But this is a good drinkable middle of the day or barbecue beer, the golden lager. Big fan.
Barbecue beer. I like that.
It's a barbecue beer.
I like that.
Love it. Well, we love Four Peaks here, obviously. And Petey tried the peach last night on the show for the first time.
Yep.
And?
Very drinkable, not a heavy aftertaste. I like it.
Peach is actually one of my favorites.
It is my favorite. I love it.
I haven't tried that yet, so.
Really?
Yeah. I got a sample now.
Yeah,
I was expecting a heavier flavor, and it's very subtle, very light.
Yeah. So if you want to try Four Peaks beer, come hang out with us next Wednesday. Last Wednesdays are back. Join the PHNX crew at the 8th Street Pub on January 25th. All of our shows will be live all day. We're the first ones up at 11 a.m. So come hang out with us. Enjoy $3 beer specials and get some chicken tendies. And it's going to be a good time. Can't wait. All right, Petey. I know you don't want to do this, but we're going to do it because it's your birthday. And we want to acknowledge you on your birthday. It's just an excuse to acknowledge you, Petey, on your birthday because we love and appreciate you immensely. So, chat, please, I know that you're going to hate this so much. Share your favorite thing about Petey. But while you're doing that, we got some photos with the help of your son, Jackson. I went behind your back. Sorry about that, but we got some unreal photos of you and him back in the day with your great hair.
That is a solid flow right there.
So there is Petey and his son Jackson. I don't know how long ago that was.
That's a long time.
At least 20 years. Yeah. At least 20 years. Wow. But very cool.
I didn't know you rocked a hair like that, buddy.
Oh,
That's
he had a full-on mullet.
Full-on long-haired mullet. It was,
unreal.
Kenny G flow going on there from the 90s.
The guy stopped me on the street in New York, asked if I was Grodin. What's the guy, the singer?
James Grodin?
Asked if I was him.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Or should be Josh.
Yep.
Groban.
Groban, yep, Josh Groban. That's what him.
Did you sing for him?
I didn't know who it was.
And that's funny because A-Root said your singing voice is his favorite thing about you. Love Petey's size and head shakes.
And when there were many during this piece, because when you get older, and Espo and Craig can attest to this, you don't really give about your birthdays anymore.
I know.
Under the rug.
I know, but we're making it a
Thank
thing.
you. I appreciate everybody.
We are. And Espo, last night somebody said that Petey's size are the North Star of their Coyotes fandom.
I mean, it's right now I use that inspiration for the Sun show as well.
True.
I try to tap into my inner Petey size.
Bemidji boy.
Yeah, Bemidji boy, your endless wisdom. And I think that's the thing. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep going here about just pumping your tires. But I think that's the thing that's really cool is like the knowledge that you provide to this beat. And I've been watching hockey my whole life, but the things that I've learned just watching hockey with you in the last year and a half is unbelievable. And what people don't see is just how creative you are behind the scenes. So
I amen to that.
We really appreciate it. And you're going to hate this even
Petey,
more. I'm so sorry. We're just sabotaging you.
Literally, nobody say anything about it.
So,
I swear. I said to my wife,
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Petey. Happy birthday to you.
Can I wish that this whole thing didn't happen?
You can, but you're out of luck.
God, sorry.
The OEL jersey.
All right, you can make a wish,
Okay,
but you
I'll make a wish.
can't. You
I
can't
won't
wish
tell
for
it. I
this
won't
to be undone. So sorry. Yay!
Wow.
Watch
Only
this
take 1 year, buddy.
start to
It'll
go
only
off.
take 1 year for the wish
Thanks
to
to
come true, and that's
everybody.
good for you at our
This
age.
is my family, so thank
Yeah,
you so much,
well-
PHNX. I love everything about being here.
Oh,
And I come across a little grumpy sometimes, but
No.
what?
but I'm not. I'm usually just super positive.
Petey, I'm just happy I have somebody to share anxiety with. So.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh,
Buddy,
man.
I have enjoyed working with you for the past 80 years.
Is this like my last show? Are there like cardboard boxes you're walking
you're
out?
forced retirement here.
Jeez. Good Lord, it's been great working with you. Thanks, everybody.
Oh man, well here's to many, many more. Everyone, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thanks for the kind wishes in the chat as well. Thank you again to Tarik El-Bashir for joining us, talking some Caps, and thank you Espo for talking some jerseys with us. We have a lot more conversation about jerseys to come
Slander.
because it's a very divisive topic, so people get fired up. We love to talk about it. Please subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live. We'll be live after the Caps game tomorrow night for our post-game show. So tune in there and be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a review wherever you get your podcast as well. And lastly, follow PHNX Sports across all social platforms. Follow us on Twitter. You can follow Espo at Espo. Very easy.
Yeah,
you can
Espo.
follow Craig S. Morgan, at Leah Merrill, at S. Peters Hockey. Wish him a happy birthday on Twitter. At oh my God, I almost said at S. Peters Hockey again. I'm just really promoting your Twitter today. At Sean_DePaz. And lastly, you can follow the show at PHNX_Coyotes. Thank you again, everybody, so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Petey.